Okay. Hello, I'm Alex from A.P. Inc. So today I'm going to be continuing with my prompt list for my interpretation of Mermay, which I am doing Starfish at the Toga Olympics. So here is my list. I'm doing this as I see fit. Today I thought it would be fun to try to do this gymnastics floor routine. So I've got this reference of a gymnast. I'm going to give you the same reference plus a reference of someone wearing a toga. I'm only thinking about this now. I actually wanted to get a reference of a gymnast using that ribbon thing. I don't know if they always use that, but I think that would be fun to try to incorporate in this. But anyways, I've got a piece of sketchbook paper, a 2H pencil, some more supplies off to the side. I'm going to try to get right into this. I'm going to do this portrait. So I'm not going to follow her pose exactly. It's just more or less inspiration. If I should have the straight up arm behind or in front of. I'm trying to figure which arm I want in front of. Because I'm gonna do this one arm up, one arm like out. I guess to kind of copy her, so the back arm is up, and then this arm So without looking up a reference, I'm going to try to give him a stick and then try to coil a ribbon that I think in this, at least in this scenario, I'm gonna tone like seaweed the same way I've been toning hang on. So I've been trying, I don't know if it's really reading, but to tone the belt and the clasp on their toga like seaweed. Okay, so in all of the other ones, I've had the toga connect on the right shoulder. I think I need to bring his shoulder down some more. His, her, whatever. I guess men don't really do the gymnastics part. Like the floor routine. I'm kind of curious as to why that is. Maybe it's common knowledge. I've never really paid attention to it too much. Okay, but I think because I lowered and kind of shrunk this arm, I need to do the same with this arm. Okay, and then for going back to the toga, I think because I don't know, I feel like because of the scenario to kind of stylize the toga, but I'm not sure it's gonna read. So maybe I should keep it as is. I mean, so far I've just depicted the toga, I mean, with 4 runners now and somebody doing a shot put. And I suppose if you can run with a full-size toga, maybe you could do gymnastics in one. Okay, so with how a toga seems to wrap around the body, this part goes over the shoulder, this part goes under the armpit, this part kind of drapes down quite a bit, but because this character isn't standing straight up, their legs are kind of um I don't know, spaced apart, I guess. That would kind of pull the sides apart, so it would raise up where it touches the leg, but kind of swoop down, I think. but I think because of how the fabric is kind of getting pulled, there's going to be kind of limited pleating. Just to see if maybe I can get a better representation of how the skirt would kind of get pulled. I want to see if I can find somebody actually running in a dress. I mean, yeah, I think most people who would run in a dress would probably like pull their skirt up, but that wouldn't really work here. I mean, this is a bit extreme. Okay, maybe if I looked up instead of running in a dress, running in a toga, because that wasn't helpful. Okay, so this guy, if it will stop. Okay, so his toga is a bit of a different style than what I'm going for here. Because, you know, going with that lower reference. At least I wasn't that far off the mark, though, because he does have a belt. Okay, sorry, I will be right back. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's not 100% realistic for the pleating. I mean, I could try to put some more pleats in this gap here. Let me just grab this. I'm trying to figure out for wrinkles. Sometimes keeping it simple is the easiest way to go. Not just because it's easy, but sometimes that's actually just how it works. Like if you were to wear a toga and you pulled the fabric taut enough, there would be a lack of wrinkles. I don't know, maybe it's too simple, but I think I'm gonna go with this. So I'm gonna use a black brush pen to do the line art with. Okay, I'm gonna try to make the spiral make sense with color. Excuse me. Because just like with most plants, not all, but most of the ones I've noticed anyway, there's a kind of darker side of the leaf and a more pastel side of the leaf. Okay, so pulling the colors that I've already established. Teal for the toga, and then deep olive and forest green. Unfortunately, here I've got limited greens, but what I could try to do to try to vary the color, I do have colored pencil here, and maybe I could use the light and dark green. Okay, so using forest green for the darker or like the top of the leaf. To actually erase the pencil here might be helpful. I'm going to give that a quick minute to dry, and then I'll erase the pencil and start this over. Okay, and then for deep olive. Hello, more toga. Toga all month. This is my interpretation for Mermay this year. Okay, I'm gonna shade the toga and then go back in with the colored pencil. Okay, and then the handle for the ribbon. So I'm gonna go with light green. Dark green to try to add shadow. I'm not sure if that dark green is kind of getting lost. I went back over with the light green, try to build up the tone a bit more. Going back over with the dark green again to push the darker tone. Okay, maybe. Okay, so basically just the skin color is left. I don't want to have a bunch of like the same skin tone. I want to vary it. So I've already done, this is actually vermilion. I've done light pink and dark pink, bright pink. That's actually orange. Even though there might be enough contrast for the camera to pick this up, that this is darker. I want to do purple, but all of the purples I have here are dark. And if I went with colored pencil, that's also dark. And I want to try to keep this as ink, uh, full ink as possible. Just to move things along. I guess that's not really a stipulation for Mermay though. I guess that's just Inktober. If I did bright pink and light purple to see if the purple stands out against the bright or the purple, to actually give myself a workable swatch here. I meant to say to see if the purple stands out against the pink. I mean, I guess I haven't done a brown one, clearly. So I guess I could do that. So I could do reddish brass and bronze to shade it. I'm not sure why most of my nibs are coming out of the markers. Okay, this is reddish brass. I was trying to kind of stay away from brown just because I thought it was going to be too dark. But that's not so bad. Trying to get rid of the patchiness. Okay. Bronze to shade it. Okay. So I've got a little bit of time left. So I'm gonna switch this over really quick. Oh, really quick. To kind of go along with the green baton that I gave the relay race runners, I'm gonna put a little bit of, actually, that was forest green. I want to add a little hint of shadow. Towards the bottom here. And then add a little bit of shiny. I don't know what the handle of the ribbon would be made out of, but maybe it could be metal here. Okay. So I doubt I'm going to be able to get too far on this, but to try and continue to lay out the details for the stadium for my toga Olympics. Okay. Let me switch out the references. So that's the outside of the Colosseum, and that's the inside. I didn't think of that, but you're right, I should do that. Because at the opening of the Olympics, they do have somebody running with a torch. Okay, so I've been sketching this out with a blue colored pencil. Let me try to get that. Okay, so I've got to continue the arches here. I've got to create the next tier down here. Because here I've got, you can't see. Here I've got this slope here, this slope, and then it comes down here. So I need to bring it down one more time, and then I want to try and create this kind of double base to fill the space. So I've already got it marked off, I think, but let me check my measurements. I think it was, I'm not sure what this measurement is. So this is an inch, a half inch, and then a eighth of an inch. My brain can't figure out what that measurement actually is, but I'm gonna try. I tried yesterday and was having trouble, so let me see if I can get this today. So an inch, a half an inch, and an eighth of an inch. See, this doesn't look, this looks narrower here than here, and I'm not sure where my measurements are off. And I tried here to measure up. So this is about 3/4 of an inch up. So that's 3/4 of an inch there. That might be accurate. If I could actually keep the ruler straight. That might be straight. Okay. So to look at the reference, it's just a matter of bringing these arches down and then adding one more and then like sloping the wall down. So this is the first pillar here is 1/4 of an inch from the outer edge. And then I think that's, yeah, that's a 1/8 of an inch. And then that gap my eyes are not liking this. So it's a 1/2 inch plus an 1/8 of an inch. And then this is where my measurements get kind of funny because this space is wider than that space. This is 3/4 of an inch. But I gotta add that 1/8 of an inch for the pillar. That is 3/4 of an inch. And then an 1/8 of an inch for that pillar. Okay, and then it's just a matter of connecting the dots. Just slightly. Because there is... Okay, before I continue with that, to put in this top support, so I'm going to measure down 1/4 of an inch. I don't know, that seems too wide. But an 1/8 of an inch seems too narrow. So here's an 1/8 of an inch. Here's 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go for this mark here between the two. I'm not sure what that is. And I'm going to bring that from here over to accommodate for that, the next diagonal wall break. It's probably not as hard as I'm making it. It's all about figuring out the spaces and just keeping your spaces uniform. Let me finish this last. Let me try to bring this last gap down. The space between the pillars. I think what I'm actually going to do here is widen the space here because this is too inconsistent. This is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just gonna bump out instead of having this box, the instead of having this line here, I'm gonna have it here and then just push it out a little bit. So it'll be going further out that way. And then this space is now 3/4 of an inch. So I bring that down here. This is 3/4 of an inch. And then that outer, so the pillar is here. My measurement is still a little bit off. And it's off by like the slightest of hairs. It's probably not going to look too much different. Okay, I'm just gonna go down the line. Oh, okay. I was gonna put in the bottom block underneath the pedestal, but the bottom layer here is just flat on the ground, and I'm just adding more decorative detail on the bottom here. So I don't need to carry down this kind of boxy detail underneath the pedestal. So I'm just gonna put in the pedestal. Those are the pillars. And then I got a figure for the top of the arch. So I'm going to measure down from this line 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to try to find the center of each of these for the top of the arch. So unintentionally, it seems that I've kind of pinpointed the center of each. And then what I'm going to do is measure down another 1/4 of an inch for this bump out at the base of the arch. I forgot. I need to figure for the support of the arch on either side of the pillar. And that is just, I guess like a 1/16 of an inch on either side of the pillar. I'm just eyeballing the center of, I eyeballed the center of each of the pillars and then just did a little tick mark. then just connect the dots. And I'm going to measure over 3/4 of an inch, and that's where the diagonal wall is going to go. And then just rough in for that arch. And then just making that kind of wedge shape at the base of the arch for the support. Okay, I am going to continue the arches going along here, just as you can see here. But I think instead of, so maybe you can clearly see this. So there's a gap between this uh, wall of arches and this wall of arches. I don't want to do that here because this is above ground. This is below ground. So here is this section here. So like the horizon split. This is probably going to be hard for me to actually accurately depict, but to make it look almost like a tub, I guess, which won't make any sense because Starfish, this is all going to be underwater. But I guess if you don't think about it too hard, it might make sense. Almost like SpongeBob. Never actually watched a full episode of that, so that might be the wrong reference to pull. Okay, so from here just like with these, I'm going to put another block here. Artistic liberty. So starting the next row of arches, I just created that same kind of support, floating support, duplicated it up here, and then I'm measured over 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll create the next support. And then 3/4 of an inch, and then 1/8 of an inch. Coming back down, measuring over from this outer line 3/4 of an inch. And then 1/8 of an inch. Pulling over to that last tick mark, measure over 3/4 of an inch, and then 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so at least for this bottom row, there's actually no brick supports. I mean, there's like a pillar cap, but I think because of the scale I'm at, I haven't been putting those in anyway, really. So I'm leaving that detail out. So just gonna continue the construction of the pillars, and then I'll come back in and put arches in. Okay, I tried to be uniform. That falls right at the 3/4 of an inch. This line here. Okay, so I'm gonna go across and mark for down for the top of the arch. I'm kind of tempted to create that same, like a mirror image, just as a detail, I guess, so to make this make sense, because here you can see the last arch and then that kind of diagonal half wall and then the arch behind it. But because I'm trying to keep this one solid wall, I gotta make this make sense somehow. So like that. Okay, and then to put in that kind of bump out. On either side of these pillars. Okay, so what I could do, because this is would be the last pillar, I could just try to put that bump out for the pillar, and then to measure down for that bump out for the arch. I need to just stretch my back. Okay, So connecting the dots for the support for the arch. Okay. Unfortunately, that is all I have time for. I'm creeping this around along. Hopefully I can finish this next time, but we'll see. Okay. So I at least finished this guy. So if you'd like to see the next... Oh, let me take these away and bring this back. And then we will mark off gymnast. You can almost see that. I hope you were actually able to see that. You were, okay. But yeah, I'm gonna call this one here. We'll pick this up tomorrow. I'll hopefully be able to do another character and progress the stadium. Thanks Asakura for hanging out. Thank you to anybody else who watched or watches. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.